on an all-new PodCRASH.
Oh, you made me evacuate this city for nothing?
Yeah.
No!
The only
There's a fucking dinosaur running
Funny
around.
is, it makes you miss the man in a rubber suit.
Matthew
Yes,
Broderick.
he still looks like Ferris Bueller in this movie.
Yeah.
One thing they got right was the lip sync.
babies.
Yeah.
He has
Godzilla,
babies.
a male reptile, just has babies.
Dumb
Movie.
last minute, like, what?
Yeah.
Dink, diddle, link, dink,
Oh, yeah.
dink,
Yeah.
dink. Welcome to the show. I am back. I am ready to PodCRASH your ears. Today, crashing a podcast called How Did This Get Made? Which, if you've not heard of this podcast, it's amazing, especially if you're a fan of film and a fan of comedy. But before that, let me get the plugs out of the way. I'm going to be at PopCon LA this weekend, Saturday, July 7th. I'm going to be doing a panel about film festivals and indie film at 6 p.m. That's at the LA Convention Center. And then the big event next week, Thursday, July 12th, at the San Diego Convention Center, 7 p.m. in room 5AB. It's going to be a live PodCRASH. And first of all, amazing special guests are going to be there. It's going to be a packed room. I might actually be crashing a podcast that appears directly after me at 8 p.m. You are really going to want to be there. And then after that, we are all exiting that event to go to a party that we are going to crash, and I'm getting everyone into that party. I will tell you about that party at the panel. So you have to go. So if you're going to be at Comic-Con in San Diego, come to my panel on Thursday at 7 p.m. It's going to be a blast. And first of all, I got to say, before we get started with the show, I was off for 2 weeks. And when I say off, it's not like I took a vacation or anything. I had to move, as I intimated in previous episodes, and getting settled probably took a lot more time than I thought. And then also, it's kind of in a place where I just felt like I should not be doing a podcast right now. It could go to a dark and unfunny place, which was weird because this past weekend I just did 2 shows at I.O. West. So if you've been going to I.O. West and been coming to the Glory Stories and Comic Book Live shows that I've been involved with that, it's amazing group of improv comedians, it's led by Patrick Ian Moore and this whole group. You have to come out to see one of those shows at I.O. West in Hollywood. So next time I'm doing one, I'm probably doing one this weekend and I just don't know about it yet. Come and check that out. So yes, I have been experiencing a bit of life upheaval, and there's just not enough distance for it to be funny yet. It will be funny in retrospect. I think right now, what's weird is I'm in transition, and never a fun thing. It's sort of like all those sort of stressful things that they say are the most stressful in life. I'm kind of experiencing them all at once. So I just had to take a break from the podcast. The break is over. We are back once a week. So thank you for that. And one thing that really helps us out, just to get this out of the way, because I want to get right to that. I want to get right to the show, but I want to get all the stuff out of the way first. The stuff I have to do. Please like our Facebook page, facebook.com/PodCRASH, and then follow our Twitter at PodCRASH Show. Follow me at that Chris Gore. Okay, enough of that stuff. I need to tell you about this podcast, How Did This Get Made, which is one that I have wanted to be on for so long. If you're a fan of Paul Scheer, you know, human giant, he's appeared in many films, he is very funny, he has the best teeth of any comedian I've ever seen. It's just memorable teeth and funny and super nice, regular dude. He is the host along with Jason Mantzoukas and Diane Raphael, and they do this show called How Did This Get Made? Now, the podcast, which I love, a podcast that has a good theme, a solid premise behind it. How Did This Get Made is about it takes a movie that is horrible and then ask the question, how did this get made? And then they dissect this movie. It's like an autopsy. They take the movie and they put it like a body on the table and rip it apart and just destroy it and decimate it. And first I thought, like, okay, I'm going to go on this podcast. I cannot wait. and I originally wanted to do this film. It was the unreleased Fantastic Four movie, which I happen to have I got a bootleg copy of that. And it was that movie. I was on. The reason I wanted to do that movie is because I was actually on the set of that film. It was produced by Roger Corman, and this Fantastic Four movie was basically made. It was made over the holidays. I remember it was like, it was made over the course of 2 weeks, right before Christmas. And the deal is that the company that owned the rights to the Fantastic Four movie had to have a movie in production by a certain period of time in order to hold on to the rights. So they just crapped out this Roger Corman thing. And I remember being so depressed on the set of that because the Fantastic Four was my gateway comic book. It was the first comic book. It's the comic book that made me fall in love with the form of, comic books. I mean, it just made me fall in love with that and sort of created the habit of going to the store once a week, buying my comics, reading my comics. And so when I was on the set of that film, it just depressed the heck out of me. What was the worst part is that everyone was so enthusiastic about the movie, from the special effects guys, who I happen to become friends with, all the actors. They really thought that they were in something special, and I could just see disaster. First of all, the costumes just looked horrendous. They just used it was just spandex. It was just shiny spandex like one would see at a dance recital or the Ice Capades. It was the worst, horrible. There was just no effort put into those costumes. And then the worst part is I was so enthusiastic. I thought, well, I'm getting an exclusive. This is going to be great. I made it the cover story of an issue of Film Threat magazine at the time. This is in the early to mid 90s when this happened. And I was just this, enthusiastic kid on the set of the Fantastic Four movie. And the worst part was I'm getting all this exclusive stuff, but then I'm thinking this movie's the worst. This is terrible, but I'm just going to present it at here's a film that they're making. So we did a photo shoot for the cover of Film Threat and got all these photographs. And I remember the woman who played Sue Storm in it, Invisible Girl or Invisible Woman, as she is known in the comics now. It was just visible camel toe. During the entire making of this movie, there was Invisible Woman camel toe when she was in that costume, and it was incredibly distracting. And we had to actually touch up that cover so that the camel toe was not visible. Someone in the wardrobe department definitely, either they dropped the ball or they did it on purpose. I don't know, but my vivid memory of that was Sue Storm's camel toe. However, we did not talk about the Fantastic Four movie. That was something that I wanted to pitch them because I happen to have a copy on DVD. It's one of those things also that I'm sure you can find it on the internet, and there's a trailer around. And later on, we even actually we had a table at Comic-Con, and we did a signing with all the actors and sold copies of Film Threat with them on the cover. But I just remember being so sad about it. It was one of those experiences that just made me sad. And I'm not sure. I didn't watch the movie. I have not watched the movie recently, so I didn't view that. But I wonder if it even holds up as a good bad movie. I'm not sure. I love good bad movies. So let's talk about what we did talk about and how did this get made, which was we talked about the 1998 Godzilla starring Matthew Broderick. It's one of those movies that if you remember at the time, just me, I'm a longtime Godzilla fan. Huge Godzilla fan from, a kid. It was like one of those things that was in my brain, just I want to see a guy in a rubber costume destroy cities because it's so cute. I could see my city being destroyed just like that. And then it would be better than a snow day because there'd be no school because the school would be destroyed. So I love Godzilla. Who doesn't love Godzilla? And this thing from Roland Emmerich just was, people were so excited. And I remember the trailers were amazing, and you never got to see the monster. I think the way that the monster leaked out actually was from the toys. That's how people got to see what Godzilla, the incarnation via Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin, what that looked like. And I think I think pretty much everyone's experience of seeing that was similar, just colossal disappointment. So what a perfect movie for how did this get made. And I talk about it with Paul and Jason in June. And it's the first time I've actually ever been on an Earwolf program, which Earwolf, if you've not heard of this, sort of a podcast network. And it's amazing. They have offices. Normally when I do podcasts, it's either via Skype or I'm at someone's house or in their living room or whatever. They have like these amazing offices where they've got a table that everyone who's been there signed it. I mean, they treat it like it's a big deal, which is kind of weird. I mean, we're just talking. We're just talking into digital space. Okay. Please enjoy clips from How Did This Get Made with Paul, Jason, and June. Godzilla.
And I just remember like being so disappointed at this movie because it was like such a bummer.
The marketing was great. I mean,
Yeah.
those trailers, the teaser trailers that basically showed you nothing, just people in New York in fear.
Yeah.
I was so pumped. I was just like you. I couldn't wait for the toys.
Yeah, everything was cool. I remember that even like New York Post had a thing called "Now You See Him," and like the day before the movie came out, they had like printed stills of Godzilla because everyone hates what this Godzilla looks like because he doesn't look like Godzilla.
Yeah.
He looks like a big lizard.
It basically is. This is basically like a Jurassic Park grab.
Oh my
Right?
gosh! Yeah,
This is
especially-
basically just like, how can we do a Jurassic Park movie without it being Jurassic Park? Well, what if we just make it Godzilla, but it still looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex in New York City?
And I mean, and then they even have their. Godzilla and spoiler alert, has babies in this movie that are just
Godzilla.
raptors.
He
They're
has
just,
babies.
Yeah.
He
Godzilla,
has babies.
a male reptile, just has babies.
All right, well let's
Babies having babies, guys.
I think to talk to Jason's point, Matthew Broderick. This movie came out in 1988. It is
98.
No, so why do I keep on doing that?
Wow.
I'm reading it too. 98. He looks like he aged like 3 decades in this time. Like he
Yeah.
looks like a young man.
From then until now, he literally has like opposite Benjamin Button disease.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Matthew
He
Broderick.
still looks like Ferris Bueller in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
He
in the
looks younger
beginning,
than Ferris
in the
Bueller,
beginning, he's
actually.
acting like Ferris Bueller. He's got his Walkman on and he's singing and he's ba ba ba.
But that's what's so weird about the whole tone of the movie is it's not, there's no fear. There's just this sort of, especially with the fanciful music,
Yeah.
like dink 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 dink
Oh, yeah.
dink dink.
Yeah.
There's so much just dumb humor
While
that peppers
tens
everything.
of thousands of people die.
Right.
And while a dinosaur is loose.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole,
Giant dinosaur is loose.
that's the whole thing. Is like no one gives a shit. This is
Nope.
there is a hole in the MetLife building, or the old Pan Am building. Literally, Godzilla went through it, and the mayor's like, "Oh, you made me evacuate this city for nothing."
Yeah.
No,
The only
there's a fucking dinosaur running around. Like no one cares. Like,
The
people are like,
only time they get pissed is when they realize Madison Square Garden's under attack.
Yeah.
That's the only time
right.
New Yorkers get pissed.
doesn't like.
And that mayor that you talked about is supposed to be Roger Ebert.
Right, his name is Ebert, and his right hand man is his
It's
Gene.
Gene. His right man is Gene.
Oh,
So,
I didn't catch that.
and
That's
the whole
funny.
thing is that, like, I remember when it came out, even they hated it, even though they're referenced in the movie.
Yeah.
It's obviously them.
Well, I think the reason why they were referenced in the movie is because Siskel and Ebert gave Independence Day a bad review.
Right.
And so he wanted to, so he makes Ebert eat all the time. He's like, I want these snacks. He's like, oh, Mr. Mayor, you
Yeah,
can't eat
he's
this
always
candy
eating
until after the, and all the billboards around town are like, thumbs up for Mayor Ebert.
I did feel that part though. Like I did when he was eating candy. Like I remember on 9/11, I ate like 5 bagels within the first hour. My response was just to eat everything I could find.
You're like, let me carbo load right now.
But it's bizarre because what's so funny is it makes you miss the man in a rubber suit.
Yes.
This actually makes you go, you know what? These effects might be better technically speaking, but I miss a guy in a rubber suit. And the whole thing is in the old Godzilla movies, all those actors took it so deadly seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The generals, and they were all serious. In this, they're just sort of goofy. And the worst part is the one guy who's giving orders has a stutter.
Yes.
To make sure to shoot the missiles.
It was like, but that was
Which
like
was
clear.
awful.
I was
But
like, what
by
is
the
that?
way, I don't know if you noticed, but by the end, when he sort of has his big moment, he loses the stutter. He has a baby arc of his own.
That guy thought his career was going to explode out of
Every
that.
one of those
I thought
characters.
he was okay.
But every
What
one of those,
happened to that? I liked that curly-haired girl.
Maria
Right.
Patillo.
Who is that?
Maria Patilla. I checked out. She's not done much after this movie.
Right? Because,
Yes.
But I was like, this
Audrey
girl
Timmons.
is cute. What's her story?
Okay, but by the way, her whole I love the fact that she felt that
Her last
her
credit.
hair was holding her back. Her hair, having that hair down, was holding her career back.
Right, she
By
was
the
a
way,
newspaper researcher, or
She wanted to be a reporter, a journalist, but had fallen into being just Harry Shearer's assistant for years.
who then like really bluntly says like, I want to fuck you.
Yeah. He's like, why don't we talk about the promotion at your house for dinner tonight?
That
Aren't
was
you
the one thing I
married?
feel like I missed about the 90s, just blatant sexism. Like, no questions about it.
We can bring it back.
No, great.
Junior screenwriter,
great.
you could do it.
Well, I mean, there's literally a part in here where Animal, Hank Azaria's character, Animal, the cameraman, his girlfriend calls him a retard.
Yes.
Like, you would never see that in a mainstream movie.
Right.
Like, it's like, you retard.
She calls him a wop as well.
But speaking
you
of that-
dumb wop. I was like, what?
That girlfriend.
What is this movie?
Baby Joan Cusack.
Hank
Baby Joan
Azaria's
Cusack.
girlfriend is played by a woman named Arabella Field, who was in a screenwriting class of mine. I did this
really?
called Writers Boot Camp. She was in it.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where she's like, yes, I was in Godzilla, and I remembered her, and it was just like, hey, this is where I had to learn acting. Where I had to, because have you ever run into like people that you know, and then like you've been in horrible movies, you feel terrible, and you have to go, oh, it's great that you got work.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so yeah, I met Arabella Field from, she was in the movie. She plays Hank Azaria's wife, girlfriend, whatever. They're involved in the movie, and she was in a class I took, and I remember she actually had a really good, she had a good concept for a screenplay, and then having looked at her recent credits, she's been producer, actress, which I think is the smartest way to go. If you're going to be an actress, produce yourself. That's how you kind of create work for yourself. But that course I took, it was the thing called Writers Boot Camp. There were a lot of cool people. And in fact, one of the writers in there was a girl who went on to be a staff writer on Lost. Yeah, no, that was a good group of people. It's one of those things, they force you to write a script in 6 weeks. So you sort of crap out the script if you just follow the instructions, and then if your script has at least some, it's viable, it's interesting, you get invited to do kind of a master class, which I did, and the script that I wrote for that class actually never sold, but it was amazing. And then meeting Arabella, I remember being really like taken aback, like, oh, you're in Godzilla. Think of something positive to say. You were funny. In Godzilla. Okay, back to how did this get made?
They're so glib that the news is literally, I wrote down one of these lines. It's like, the city has been destroyed. The Warner Brothers and Disney stores are being looted.
Yeah.
Is that what we're leading with? That's the lead story, that the Warner Brothers store is being
That must have been a Sony note.
That's what I think. Like stick it to him.
Yeah.
Stick it to.
The other thing that I was obsessed with was like, it's obviously chaos. The city is being evacuated, but like Matthew Broderick later in the movie can like walk up to like a really small mom and pop pharmacy and buy out all their pregnancy tests.
Right.
And I was like, and she's like, well, we only have these ones. And I'm like, why isn't he screaming, get out of the city?
Now.
Yeah.
We're very close to a murderous giant lizard. You stop selling ibuprofen. What's going on?
The mayor was constantly upset. Like, guys, if you lost the lizard, we could just bring people back in. It's an election month.
Yeah.
An election month. Like, you were going to lose everyone that's going to be voting for you. And then also, everyone uses the subway, which was another, like, head to the subway. Like,
Yeah.
No.
No.
Like, just, that was so.
Oh my God. One of my favorite things. So Broderick at a certain point, because they've lost Godzilla in the city, right?
Yes.
Totally, they don't know where he is. And Broderick's got an idea. He's like, well, no, we don't go find him. We have to figure out, what does he want? So they make a giant pile of fish,
Yes.
right? Like a giant, 12 dump trucks full of fish. They make a giant pile of fish as bait, okay?
Yes.
Smoke them out.
So I get that, right? And they're all waiting. It's a waiting game. Okay. Then they cut into like the computer center, and there are guys who are looking at computer screens looking for, is Godzilla coming? In the middle of the computer screen is a giant fish.
Yeah.
Is a giant computerized fish to tell you that's where the fish are. And I was like, this this is as bad as Willem Dafoe's stupid Speed 2 computer that was always like, when should I activate? And he would type in like, now, please. You know what I mean? Like nothing. It was like nonsense. It was like a giant floating, blinking fish.
I'm also confused, and I mean, I guess this goes back to the original Godzilla movie, but it's 100-foot tall monster, and everyone's got their rifles trained, like machine guns. Like this is gonna really take it down. Like,
well, there are so many scenes in this movie where Godzilla, they draw out Godzilla and find him and lure him to a place. They stare at him for about a minute, and then everybody runs away. It's like that happens about 5 times.
It's always these
in this
dumb
movie.
last minute, like, like that guy on the dock who was fishing. Like, I'm waiting. The scene is big thing coming towards him. Wouldn't you think he'd turn around and run immediately?
Everybody waits.
He waits till the dock starts exploding behind him. It's stupid.
People love to wait in these action movies. Wait until the last possible second. I did love that. I think in this movie, Godzilla is amazing at ducking. Like,
my God.
all he does is duck.
Every time they shoot a missile,
Again, for something of that size to be so
very agile.
Very agile. And he's running in these narrow canyons, all these streets. But like, I just don't think that this lizard has the wherewithal to know, like, a missile's coming at me. I'm going to duck this one out. Like, it's just like, well, but he misses. They miss him so many times. Like, they have nuclear subs aiming at him. They have helicopters aiming at him.
Meanwhile, we got to cut to a scene of the French Secret Service keeping tabs on everything. And guys, do they like our coffee?
They hate our coffee.
Not strong enough.
I thought you said this was French roast, and the guy pulls up a can and says French roast. Like, more milk.
It is French roast. But I feel like they were just trying to throw that in to give the film an international appeal.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
100%.
Totally.
How can we get the French? Jean Reno.
Yeah, it was you're totally right. It was like, this is a world movie because Jean Reno is the hero, and also at one point dressed like the professional when he's like waiting in that one room, like wearing the white undershirt and the suspenders. But it was like, they make him so cheesy. It's like, oh, what? No croissant? It's not like that. He doesn't like a donut.
The one thing, though, that is good about this film, and it's better than any of the previous Godzilla films, the one thing they got right was the lip sync. The lip sync on the film is perfect. Which in previous Godzilla films has not been the case since they're all dubbed.
Sure.
Sure. The lip syncing is the only positive thing I can say about this film.
I have to say about that female reporter, Audrey, she doesn't have the chops to be a reporter. There are so many times in this movie where she's like, don't we have enough footage? Let's go. I'm like, I don't want to go down there. There are rats down here. She is not...
She doesn't have what it takes.
And she does not have what it takes.
Well, I mean,
true.
She's
so anti-feminist.
I'm sorry, but it's like we're watching her. She should not be promoted.
Why was she in her bedroom crying?
She's crying hysterically at one point because...
But why, though?
Because she feels like she sold him out by giving the VHS tape labeled top secret.
Oh, yes.
That's a chick thing. None of us would understand that. But I appreciate you here to translate.
She betrayed the man.
Sure.
She betrayed the man that she loved in college 8 years ago.
Right.
Who still has a thing for her because he puts his pictures in his toolbox.
Yeah, he proposed to her and then she just bailed.
That's weird. Would a chick do that? Like so he proposed and then she didn't say anything, didn't write back, that's really weird. I find that completely hard to believe that, like, it basically should be driven away because Matthew Broderick proposed and then she decided no. That's weird. I don't know, man. I think the thing that actually made the original Godzilla movies really awesome is the fact that people were grounded in reality. A lizard is destroying everything. We are scared as hell. We're running away. And they just sort of bought into the reality, even though the effects look so fake. It's a rubber guy destroying a train set, which actually in and of itself is actually really cool. And I always loved about Godzilla. But the fact that the humans in those original Toho productions believed it and bought into that reality, and their acting was like fear, and it was intense. And at least in the Godzilla movies that weren't so lighthearted, which came sort of in the 70s, they got very lighthearted, where Godzilla was the protector of children everywhere, which I totally don't buy into that. But this one, that's where it really, I think that's where the biggest flaw is. All right, back to more of how did this get made?
Here's the other thing. Godzilla, we find out he's pregnant and he's having all these babies. He does it in Madison Square Garden, but no one knows that he does it in Madison Square Garden, which means like I don't understand how he could just lay 200 eggs in Madison Square Garden without anyone going like, I think he might be in here.
Yeah.
I think this might be.
They have a manager there, a night manager.
Yeah.
Just gonna keep an eye on Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
What are these eggs doing here?
Well, that's the thing. Nobody seems to have any mode of communication to say like, oh, there's that giant lizard. I'll call in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by the way, there were cell phones at this time.
Harry Scheer is using one.
Yeah, but they don't use them at a lot of times. They just kind of use them when they want to. But when they go into Madison Square Garden, they see the 200 eggs, and then it becomes like a giant raptor scene. All these raptors are attacking.
All the eggs hatch pretty much simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, go ahead.
And they go like, well, we need to get the word out.
The incubation period must have been like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like those eggs, like penguins sit on their eggs for months. Godzilla
That's a
lays
fair point.
eggs that hatch within
eggs.
hours.
200 eggs all around. Like literally litters them all around.
Like
this
Alien.
But this is like, yeah, exactly. Like Alien. You mentioned that. It's like, but movie pregnancy is different because things escalate quicker in movie pregnancies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Alien, Prometheus, all those things. It's just
The
like,
Fly.
whoop,
Yep,
it
you're
happens
done. Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and
We don't-
she has a baby very quickly.
We can't waste screen time with that.
But
I did love though once those baby Godzillas are hatched, they're all trying to escape Madison Square Garden, and at one point, I don't know if it's before or after Madison Square Garden's about to be blown up, but they're running away from them, and I think they shoot a gumball machine or somehow.
No,
a
he
gumball
knocks a
machine.
gumball machine over.
He knocks one over, and all the baby Godzillas run out and all slip and fall.
Yeah,
on
it's like a
those
Keystone
gumballs.
Cops.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most delightful things I've ever seen.
Well, baby Godzilla.
I loved it.
Is it as cute as the baby Godzilla eating the popcorn, having his head stuck in a bag of popcorn?
Here's what you know what I could not figure out for the life of me is I genuinely felt like the movie couldn't decide whether it wanted us to care about the giant misunderstood Godzilla and his babies.
Yes.
And want to save them. Like, which seemed to be the Matthew Broderick kind of character would naturally be like, no, you don't understand. We have to say, like, he doesn't mean to harm or anything. But Matthew Broderick and everybody else is like, tell them to blow up Madison Square Garden and kill the babies.
Well, but
we have to kill the babies.
This is my favorite part because they go, well, how can we get a word out? We can't use our cell phones for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Let's go up to the booth because our news station covers all the Rangers games, so we have a live feed up there. So they run up to this booth that's ready for all the great Ranger games reports.
Yep.
And they contact the guy who's at the other news stations, like, Henry, put us on. He goes, there's no Ranger game tonight. No, there is no Ranger game.
You know why?
Yeah.
Because there's a giant dinosaur rampaging the city, dummy.
And he was kind of reluctant to ugh, I mean, I may get in trouble for putting you on. No.
We guarantee you're not going to get in trouble.
To your point, Jason, I think that's why they made the Godzilla he, and they kept on referring to Godzilla as he.
Oh, so that it wouldn't be a mother?
Yeah, because if it was a mother, I mean, that scene is already pretty painful when Godzilla comes back to life, I guess, after being blown up.
Yep.
And realizes that all of his babies have been murdered. That was a pretty dark scene.
The
but if
best
that had
shot,
been a woman, it
the
would have
best
been
shot of the
worse.
movie was an aerial view of that one dead baby Godzilla on the ground. It's just a limp
it was
dead baby
upsetting.
Godzilla. And then he's like, oh, and that's when Godzilla gets mad. You killed one of his 200 babies. And then all of a sudden, once the final chase is going on, Godzilla is getting stuck like a motherfucker. He can't get, before he's running through buildings, burrowing tunnels under the city. Now he gets runs up to a building, can't get in. He's
Come
always
on,
getting
guys,
stuck.
let me in, let me in.
Can't get down this hallway. Can't get back to this fence. Godzilla is his tail rips through buildings.
Yeah.
But now he's like,
He gets caught ultimately in a couple of wires.
Oh, that's how they
In a
finally
couple
gets
of
killed.
wires.
Yeah. The saddest ending. Go to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Where's the nearest suspension bridge?
Doesn't it?
He says at one point, where is the nearest suspension bridge?
Oh, and that's the other thing. No one in the movie, everyone's looking at maps of Manhattan, how do we figure it out? It's a grid.
Yeah.
Manhattan is a grid. That's it. You can figure it out really. It's looks like 34th. Make a right.
If you could have one, they could have handled this situation with one helicopter in the sky.
Yes.
Being like, Okay, I see the giant dinosaur.
Exactly.
It's at 34th and Lex. Okay, it's
Yeah,
moving north.
Yeah,
There
just
was- yeah.
stay above it.
Just stay
Don't
above
engage it. And
Yep.
yeah.
This is where Dean Devlin would have benefited from a writer's room, because you would have needed just people to just say, hey, that's kind of dumb, this is stupid, people wouldn't act this way.
Nope, just did it
Yeah,
himself.
just- exactly. I'm such a big Godzilla fan. I have the box set. It's a box set where it's actually like all the Godzilla movies, and then it's like you get the Japanese version and the U.S. version, which is really cool because you actually get to see it in the original Japanese with subtitles, which I've never seen. When I was a kid, I just saw the dubbed ones. But one of my favorites actually as a kid was the Baby Godzilla. I mean, he's in Son of Godzilla, and then there's Godzilla's Revenge. Some of these movies had actually different titles in the United States, but I can do a pretty spot on Baby Godzilla imitation, also known as the Son of Godzilla, also known as Minya. And he would blow out little like smoke rings because he couldn't actually like breathe fire except when his dad stepped on his tail. All right, back to how did this get made? Are you correcting the grammar? Because those Amazon reviews are usually riddled with horrible grammar.
I did love, by the way, there's a line in the movie where the looters are
Oh my God.
looting the Disney store, and one looter says to another, he goes, I got that feeling.
That bad feeling.
Bad feeling before something bad happens.
By the way, you should have gotten that when the giant Godzilla attacked. It wasn't like
Yesterday, you should have had that feeling.
Yeah, they were looting after the giant lizard was known to be an entity. Like that's the thing. It's like no one really communicated that there was a giant lizard in town.
Nobody, you never saw anybody say to another person, hey, isn't this fucking crazy?
Yeah. No,
Isn't there's a dinosaur? Like, Jurassic Park, they're like, holy shit, dinosaurs shouldn't be here. This is crazy. Everybody in this one is like, we gotta get out of here just cause. But nobody's pauses to be like, dude, crazy, right? There's a dinosaur?
People are pissed they have to go to New Jersey.
Yes.
That's what it was.
This is my favorite final Amazon review. If ever... To anyone who didn't like this movie, you must have got hit on the head with a coconut. 5 stars.
Well, there's nothing to say to that.
Now, I went all out. I don't know if I get extra credit for this.
Yes.
I listened to the commentary on the DVD.
Whoa! Well, what do you have to share with us about that?
Only one interesting thing I learned. I mean, first of all, I learned who did what special effects. I mean, Roland Emmerich, the director, didn't do the commentary. It was just these effects people.
Oh, okay.
But the name of the guy who designed Godzilla, his last name is Tatopoulos.
I heard that.
So
Amazing.
Nick Tatopoulos' character came from, and that guy is hated all over because the Japanese hate this version of Godzilla.
Right.
So much so that the next Godzilla movie they made with a guy in a rubber suit, they kill a lizard-like character that looks like the Godzilla from the 1998 Roland Emmerich Godzilla.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they're still making Man in a Rubber Suit Godzilla movies?
Are you kidding? They come out at least once a year. There's been a ton of them, but this was Sony's attempt to. We're going to make Godzilla an international hit. We're going to get the big director of Independence Day, an Austrian, who is going to explain it to the world, and it's just. But then, of course, they have to set it in New York. It makes no sense. I think also the lack of Asians is a big problem for me. I really feel like that's what and a fast-moving Godzilla doesn't make sense. I love the idea of a looming, like something that large looming really, really slowly, like slow-moving zombies.
Super fast too.
Swims fast. The weird way you swam.
And he can burrow holes. This Godzilla can just like he's like a boll weevil or something. I mean,
He is exactly like a boll weevil.
Yeah, but
You're
they've done
absolutely right.
They've done a ton of Godzilla movies since.
He's just wreaking havoc on our cotton.
And they killed the Godzilla from the 1990s.
I love that they
That's
killed
really
him.
funny.
As an FU.
And they also killed Matthew Broderick's
They killed his career. They did.
The movie
Either
aged him.
this movie or Sarah Jessica Parker has robbed him of his life force.
Would you guys recommend this movie?
No.
I personally would not. I don't think it's worth watching.
No, it's not. It's not
I don't
bad
know.
enough to be good. I think.
It's long. The thing is, it's long.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes
it's a very
long.
Yes.
long movie, but
Yeah, it's not a good
enjoyed
bad
some of
movie.
it.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
not.
a real thing.
It's a bad movie, and it's upsetting on more levels than one.
Yeah.
It makes you want to see movies with worse special effects.
Yeah.
Just because those original Godzilla movies, there's something kind of fanciful because in my mind as a kid, I always imagined imagined Godzilla would come and destroy my school.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's like, he's destroying a train set. He's getting to play with these toys. That was always kind of fun that you could tell it was fake.
Yeah, I didn't feel like he really got to destroy much. He just kind of was always running.
The military destroyed more than Godzilla.
Oh my God, that
Yeah.
was the thing. Like, remember, like, we didn't talk about like when the military, like, they're kind of, they're always trying to shoot him down, and like they literally blow up the Chrysler building.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the military blows up the Chrysler
Building destroyed.
They're like stormtroopers. They can't hit their targets.
Yeah,
I
they're
guess when Godzilla was hiding in Manhattan, he was just always in Madison Square Garden.
Or he was
Sometimes
burrowing under the ground.
Yeah, he
Or
went
it's
into the
underground
subway
in the subway
tunnels, I
system.
guess.
And to eat fish.
That's all. I mean, like, that was the other thing. I was like, really? All Godzilla wants to do is eat fish? Hey, guess what, buddy? Stay in the goddamn ocean.
Yeah, by the way, I just don't...
Guess what the ocean is full of? Fucking fish, you
And by
dummy.
the way, why was that island perfect? That was the clip we heard. It's a perfect island. No, the island that he was on where they first found his footprint in the beginning of the movie, that's the perfect island.
Yep.
It's empty, and he can do whatever he wants. This is an island where people are shooting at him, and there are buildings.
And there's giant. By the way, to go from where he was in the Pacific to New York City, he's passing through where there's like whales, where there's huge.
Yeah.
He could have lived a great life. There is no. What they do a terrible job of. There is literally no reason he comes to Manhattan.
Well,
Yeah.
None.
except for
None.
the nest of Madison Square Garden.
Wait, so he came because he heard about Madison Square Garden was a great nest?
Well, it's a big, round, like protected
I mean,
nest.
that
for 200
is
eggs. I'm serious.
crazy.
I mean, it's something.
Earlier, you were talking about this movie kind of, sidelined Dean Devlin's career. Also, Roland Emmerich, too. I mean, the biggest thing he's done since really is 2012.
Oh, yeah, which is also a huge flop, right?
That was a huge flop. And then also, just look at Godzilla sort of as a career. You know what I mean? Like, they've tried to make Godzilla an international thing. They're actually developing a new Godzilla at Warner Brothers right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, trying to bring it back.
I think it doesn't
Broderick,
work-
I
yeah.
hope, is still in it.
Yeah, who knows?
But I mean, I think
It's a cameo.
I think that we're in this like world of like these Cloverfield monsters now and stuff like that, and it's like just bring back the dumb Godzilla that we all love. I think that would make I would enjoy
Like
this movie even more.
a big campy Godzilla movie would be fun.
Yeah, that would be actually a really great idea.
Because the whole thing is that actually the fun part of those old movies is they took it so seriously, and that's what made it dumb and fun. So that's it for this week's episode of PodCRASH. Although it might not be it, you would find some Easter eggs if you actually listened to the end of the show. Just a little hint there. I really want to thank the people at Earwolf and How Did This Get Made? Paul Scheer, June, Diane, Raphael, Jason Mantzoukas. Follow them at Paul Scheer, at Ms. June Diane, and at Earwolf on Twitter. And there's also definitely like their How Did This Get Made page on Facebook. You can suggest movies for them to do. Maybe you might suggest Heart Beeps with Andy Kaufman. I think that would be brilliant. Or the original Fantastic Four movie that was unreleased. You could suggest that, and maybe they would have me back. So I really want to thank them. Just Earwolf, they got a good thing going. You should check out some of their other shows. And Paul Scheer, I feel like Paul Scheer and I could do a show together. Matt Myra and Scott Mosier, they do this show called Phoebe, which is 4 Eyes and a Beard. I feel like Paul Scheer and I could do a show called 2 Teeth and a Coif. And I would be the coif, the hair. And he has these very distinct teeth. He has the funniest teeth of anyone I know, and I'm sure he gets that a lot. But I love Paul Scheer. Anytime you see him pop up in a movie or any sort of comedy, anything, he's amazing. And you should definitely check out his appearance on the Marc Maron Show on WTF if you're not already a listener of that show, which I'm sure you are. Paul Scheer did an amazing job on that show. Really interesting to find out his background. And he's actually hosting Attack of the Show all this week. So I will see Paul this week when I do DVD Tuesday on Tuesday, which I do every week. And I want to thank you guys also just for having a little faith in me. I got a lot of... I got emails, I got @replies on Twitters, I got comments, I got any kind of place that you can harass me social media wise. I had people asking if I was okay, if everything was cool, because the show basically went away for 2 weeks. And I just want to say thank you for your concern. I'm fine. I needed the time off to kind of get my stuff together. It is now together. And the show will be coming on a regular basis now, probably a bonus episode maybe later this week. Pay attention to your iTunes. Just thank you for all of that. That was just really great to hear. That helped me get through kind of a rough patch. But things are just moving onward and upward. I'm excited I'm really excited for Comic-Con. I cannot wait for Comic-Con. You have to come to my panel because after that, we are all leaving en masse. It's going to be a group of like probably 500 of us actually walking to what will be the next party. And I'm getting us all on the list. I worked it out. It's all going to work out. We're all going from the panel to this party. So come to my Comic-Con panel, 7 p.m. on Thursday at San Diego Comic-Con. And also, like us on Facebook, Twitter, at PodCRASH Show, me at all that stuff. And posting a review on iTunes does really help. And I just have one final thing to say to you. No, I am not going to do a crappy Godzilla roar like I did when I opened the show. That would be awful. The last thing I have to say to you is what I like to say every time, which is let's get out of here.
From the depths, 30 stories high, breathing fire, his head in the sky. Godzilla, 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 and Godzilla.
If you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of person who stays through the end credits of a movie. We're a lot alike. I like you. For that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036. I will return it with a surprise. And for those of you still listening, because you caught my hint earlier about staying to the end for Easter eggs, here's a bonus piece of audio from How Did This Get Made? Later. Roland Emmerich actually saved the world, and I'll explain why.
All right.
It's dead seriously. I went to the junket for 2012, which they had. 2012, of course, is about, December 21st.
The
The
Mayan
Mayans, Nostradamus, everyone predicts is the end of the world. So I went there, and there were a whole bunch of 2012 experts. They did one of those weekends where they wanted to educate the junket attending media.
Forget about the movie. Get into the
2012. So there was all these 2012 experts there explaining their theories about what it is. It's going to be a spiritual reawakening. There are going to be solar flares. The world's going to end. Whatever. I raised my hand and said, look, is it possible that in the mind's eye of the Mayans and Nostradamus, they might have actually foreseen the trailer for the movie 2012? And in their brains, they just saw a movie trailer.
Right.
Because the movie trailer comes out, right? And it says 2012. So they're thinking, these ancient cultures, 2012 is the end of the world. And it's like, no, it was just a movie. You didn't see the end of the world. I mentioned this to Roland Emmerich, and then the 2012 experts, I kind of blew. They were just aghast and annoyed. One of the guys was like, that's a very interesting theory. That is a good thing. They actually said that I had a valid theory.
That they saw in the future to the movie.
They saw in the future a movie that came out called 2012 about the end of the world. And so I mentioned this to
that was the reality.
And Roland, I said, you may have saved the world by making this film.
Yeah.
Because that's what the ancient cultures foresaw.